Hey people, this goes out to Kevin over at Giant Secrets. If everybody would sub to him, maybe he'll go back to making movies. He's also a friend on Facebook, and he's got this page, Exploring History, where we share information. And I shared that last movie I made, and he left this comment here and turned me on to this Bible verse about one of the Masons' gods here. And y'all better believe that the Masons know a whole lot more about these ancient writings than all you preachers do. This Daniel 7:25. And so I had to look it up, and this would be a good one because I got it in the Greek, in the Latin, in the Hebrew, and King James all side by side to get a look at it. So this chapter 7 starts as Daniel's vision of 4 beasts, and then down here in the Hebrew at 15 it starts with Daniel's vision interpreted, and in the Greek it starts at 17 as the 4 beasts, the 4 kingdoms. So this is the Latin, and this is the Greek, it's the Hebrew. And this isn't going to read as your Bible. This is kind of like they took the International and the King James and they lined it up to try to interpret these words here. So it's going to read different. But I lined all these up with the punctuation on the Latin here, because you could see the poetry in it. So this key is it replaces this vav in the Hebrew. Sometimes you'll see it on the beginning or in the middle of a word here, and so you can pronounce that as a W instead of key, as in werus. So I'm gonna start with this Latin here, and this ET. This is the AET that was in the Hebrew. And I found it in the movie I posted a couple years ago with the tie-dye on it. I found it in an old dictionary, and it's given the meaning of knowledge acquired, or acquire knowledge. And so when I started reading, that's what I first saw, was that AT in the Hebrew that had never been. You don't see it here, but it's all throughout the Bible 12,000 times, and it's never interpreted. And an AT would be A as knowledge or to learn, and the T would be writings. And so I started as learn writings, and that's when I figured out that some of the writings was missing. But it means knowledge acquired, and however you acquire that knowledge. And you can see several ways right here. You can acquire the knowledge from the sermons. And in the Greek here, you can acquire that knowledge from the logos, which are logos. One check mark to you means Nike, and that would be the words. You can acquire the knowledge from the words. And over here in Hebrew, you can acquire that knowledge to mull in. To mull in. That's when you put your elbow on your knee and your hand on your chin, and you stare off in space and give it a deep thought, to mull in thought. So I read that AT is two often. You can read this as two sermons, contra excelsium locator. And so we won't mess with sermons. We'll just go ahead and assume that it means the sermon is something that the preacher's telling you. And this contra, they give it the meaning against, and that's like contraband is. And so contra doesn't really mean against. Contra means to containing, as in contraband is containing the banned substances, would be contraband. So in the sermons, contra, containing the excelsium locator. The excelsium, excel is is to when you're raising your speed, heightening or raising the sum, to add it up, and the raising of the locator, and this you can see this, the location where, and the sermons containing to raise locations, to sanctos, and this has been where your word saints has come from, but the sanctos is allowances, like sanctions. We have sanctions on Iran, so we stop the oil ship heading there. You know, these are the allowances. To the allowances altissimi, and the alt, the high, issimi, the highest, in the highest contrae. And so this one is more like against, is contrary, au contraire, you know, not so. In fact, just the opposite of, au contraire. To put a bit, quad posit, a quadrant position. To put a bit, we'll take a guess at this. Can't be sure yet. Have to find it in more places. To put tabit. To tabit would be in writings, to tabulate, to write down where it's at, or to put a bit of quad posit, the position of quadrant. To mature, to change, that's pretty close to mature. It means to age, to change in only one direction, in the aging direction. You're not changing, getting younger, you're getting older. And the changing tempora. Tempora kind of looks like temporary, or tempo would be the speed of time, not the time, but the speed of time. In the quadrant position, changing, maturing in the speed of time. To ledges. Ledges are alleged, or ledger would be something that you write down, like a log, to keep up with the times. It ledges. To trade and tour. To trade and tour, we can see a tradition in there almost. We can see the trade enter. To the trade enter, the trade to come in. In manois, to scu at tempus. So in mano, it's given the meaning hands, but your hands is also your men out there in the field working. In the mano, they use to skew, to spread. To skew, you take a rack of balls and you crack them and they spread out. To skew, add tempos, to add the tempos. This is where we get our AD from, 2019 AD. To add the tempos, to add the time. To the tempora, to dimidium temporis. So this is a great clue. This dimidium is the the two mediums. So two mediums is you add 5 and 10 to make 15, and then you divide that by 2 to get your temporis at 7.5. A dimidium temporis is halfway between the tempora and the ad tempus. Add tempus and tempora to the dimidium of the tempori. So on this Greek here, it rhymes, and I've been asked a couple times, where's the best place to learn more about this, and really I don't know that anybody that pretends to read this only knows what they were told it was said. They try to match it to the King James. But I'll leave you this link to this 1788 Hore Lyrica, and it was banned. It was banned for a long time, and so he also says that it was poetry. You can see on his 5th page of the preface, he's talking about some of the later poets of the pagan world debase this divine gift, and many of the writers of the first ranks in our age of national Christians have to their eternal shame surpassed to the vilest of the Gentiles. They have not only disrobed religion of all its ornaments and verse, but have employed their pens in impious mischief to deform her native beauty and to defile her honors. They have exposed her most sacred character to drollery, and dressed her up in a most vile and ridiculous disguise for the scorn of rudder herd of mankind. For the one reason is to rudder the herd, to direct you. But I'll leave the link on the bottom here. You can read this in Google Books. It looked like this, and he was well versed in several languages, not as much as the Latin. You'll see some. Internet's really slow today. You'll see some. You'll see a little bit of Hebrew in there, and you'll learn a lot of the words that's used in the Hebrew Bible. You'll see them in here, and so a lot of these words are created by poets. They're made by adding two words together, and so sometimes these words have several meanings, and the main object is to make you laugh while you learn. To the logos prostone, to possession lawlessly, the logos, the writings of the highest tone, to position the lawlessly. Lawless is your sinners, your moon worshippers were the lawless. So is Lola, the lawlessly. The logos, the highest range, position lawlessly. What to use the agios, to possess to planacy. The ages are the aggies, and open the gnosi to allow to see. To open the gnosi to allow to see. Where ruse, where awakens. To gnomon. Gnomon is ancient symbols for the gods, like logos, or symbols for the knowledges of sciences. To the gnomon, to doth seti. Seti was the knowledge of setting sun, and the sun sets, that's when you can see the stars and the moon, and that's when the lawless would go to work, and the aggies could go to work. They could see the stars and the moon, and they know when to plant their fields. To the gnomon, to doth seti. In cherry what to those, in share work. Share works in Sherry, what to those where awaken, and whereon, WRON, and whereon, which miss to where rue. To share what to those where rue, where awaken, to whereon, which from is to where rue, where awaken. So it's kind of confusing, and it's mainly just to make poetry out of it. But it's saying, the writings of the highest tone. I believe that would be that crescent on Isis' head. She was the highest, and that's where Jesus come from. It's the oldest spelling, looks more like Isis, IHSU. To the logos prostone, a position of lowlacy, to see the moon, the lawless. What to use the Aggies, the ages, the Aggies, to possess to planacy, to see the plane of the planets, and open no sea to allow sea. And key WROUF, where ruse, where stir up, where waken, to the gnomon, to doth seti, to does seti, the setting sun, when the lawless come out to watch the planets and the moon and stars, where doth seti in share what to those where rue, where awakened to gnomon, to doth set he in share what to those where awaken to whereon to chemists to where rue. And so yeah, the chemists come out at night, and in chemists, that is the number for 5. They give for 5 in the Hebrew. And 5 is a symbol for half, so it could possibly mean that too. But it looks like it's where the night falls and doth set in share what to those to awaken, whereon to the chemists to where awaken. And the chemists would come out at night and they would look at the stars, but the chemist was also cooking up the poisons. The chemists of Cairo. Now, I'm going to tell you for a fact, from over 40 years in construction, nothing gets built without the chemist. Every block you see up here, there was at least a keg of beer drank for every one of them blocks. And without the chemist, none of this would have happened. So I like to read this beside their interpretation, and it helps. It gives a better idea where they'll put the evil words. And so the plain to see, it shall mislead, and ball, the ball earth was evil. And their words for evil will let you know what they were trying to hide. They didn't want us to know that we were living on a ball. They want us to think that the planet was flat, and you stuck here. And so the gods that they would be talking about is the words of the highest position of the lawlessy, to use by the Agios to possess to the planacy, and to open the hidden, to allow to see, to the name on doth seti. This is the one that butchered Osiris, the night setting. So all 3 of these are called the Vulgate. But this Latin and Greek, this was written by man just trying to imitate. And this Hebrew, this is just the most vulgar. It doesn't seem to be written by man. It was just total genius. And it's got numbers inside all these words. They have many meanings and numbers too, and there's recipes hidden inside here. And so this starts to mull in LSD. Holy, holy, to make mull will fittacy. And so this LXD, this is Lucidium. This is Lucifer, the light. And this holy here, this was only here one time. In the first writing, you only saw this first holy, O-L-Y-A. And this second one, O-L-A-E, was put in there and to change time. As the time changed, as the stars move, the language changed, because the language comes from the stars. And so what they had to do is change the number value, because the position of the star had changed. And in order to keep all these writings good, they changed this word. That's what this is. And this was the first, and this one came after. And so what it does, you have the O-L and the I-A here. And here you have an O-L and an A-E. And so three of the letters are the same, but you got one different. And you'll see this all throughout the Bible. Usually it changes from a Vav to a Yod, changing from 6 to 10. But here it changes from 10 to 5, the number value. You have the I, and you have 70, 30, 10, and 1. And here you have the 70, 30, the 1, and 5. So you have a 5-digit difference here. But it only reads with 1. And so if we was reading the original writing, we just read holy. But if we were doing the math, the secrets inside of it, we would have to use this word to get the correct number out of it. So to mull in LSD, holy I mull to bind fidicy. Fidicy is ancient word meaning a trusted source. You'll see it in Latin. You look up in Latin, fidicy, F-I-D-I-S-Y, means trusted, from a trusted source. To mull in lucid, holy, I mull to will fidicy, to bind fidicy. The holy when in eyeball, that's the evil one of the Bible, the eyeball. And this is the vision first. And this is about Daniel's vision. So this is V-I-S, like a visor, the wise guy that gives you advice. But this is the vision, and then the V is in, the vise in, or the vision first, the lesson-y. And so it looks like the word was made like that just to rhyme, but the number value has more meaning inside of it. To mull in LSD, holy, I mull to bind fidicy, the trusted source. And holy, and I believe this holy actually means whole, as in W-H-O-L, as in the all, the most high, the whole. The whole went in. To make ball, to make in bind knowledge. And it's also always given, everything that has to do with knowledge and thought, they always give it interpretation as something evil. The eyeball, the vision in first, the lesson, L-E-S-N, to make life, the lesson-y. To cut from 9 to date, VDT, to date. To make tie, T-I-E, to make tie in when, the date, to tie in when. Bide, as in go along with, to abide. To abide Odin, the Odin, and Odin end to flag Odin. Odin, Odin. You see it here. OD, this is the only time you see this tack in this verse. But if you've been watching my stuff, you know this tack means to read this next word backwards. So this is ODN. D, ODN. And ODN in to PLG, to plague or to flag. And I believe it's flag because the book is about language. The language is in the flags. They use the flags on the boat. We use flags to talk back and forth to ships. We use the flags on the battlefield to signal the troops. To flag and Odin. So this word ODN, this is the same word. It's the same word as the Garden of Eden. The ODN. So we weren't in the Garden of Eden. We were in the Garden of Odin. And that's where this ancient writings come from. These ancient writings come from Odin. They come from up around Greenland and the Vikings. And so we'd have to break these down into their letter meaning, but the OD, to see through. To see through. ND, the end. To see through the end. Odin. To Odin. Odin times. The Odin times. The Odin in when to flag Odin. So if the Masons are worshiping a god in this verse, they could be worshiping this lucid, the LSD, the lucidity, the light of the holy, holy of the Most High. To mull, to make mull. You see, this mull is different, and they'll do this to all the words when they're just the same as they create these words by adding two words together. In the Hebrew, they'll skip a letter. They won't use that letter. So this would be the same word to mull in. This is also mull, but it's spelled out with the L here when it's used by itself. To make mull. To make mull. To make thought. To make deep thought in. To mull in lucid. Holy. To mull, to bind, to direct the fidacy, to a trusted source of holy went in. To make ball, the vision first. First vision, to make the ball. And that's the first thing you have to learn when you're trying to learn all this knowledge of ancient Hebrew. Is the ball. We're not sitting on a flat earth. We're on a ball, and all these planets are balls, and they're circling around, and that's kind of what they're talking about in here as the temper raises, as the ball earth circles around the sun, the big egg shape, and when we get close to the sun, we speed up. It's like a comet. It goes a big long loop. It's real slow, and then we speed up. And in fact, we're closer to the sun in our winter time, and it's a long winter, or it's a long summer loop. We have these long summers here because we're in the northern hemisphere. But actually, in the winter, we're closer to the sun, and we're moving fast. And that's what creates our weather patterns. Has a lot to do with our weather patterns. From the trusted source of the holy went in, of all went in, to make ball the vision in first lesson, in the first lesson, the ball in the vision of the first lesson. LESN, to make life. To make the tools from nine, or to cut the menin. to date, to make, vayad, to make, tie, T-I-E-B, win, to date, to make, tie, in win, bide, in the hand, life, in the works through life, to abide, add, to see through, ND, the end, to see through the end, Odin, to Odin in, to flag Odin. So Odin, he was the one-eyed god. He saw better than everybody else because he only had one eye, and he has an umbilical cord to the sun. And Odin is the god that controls the sun. That's the one giving birth to the sun over here. The umbilical cord still running. So he Tumal in Lucid, LSD, and LSD is it's a cheat, to try to help to open up your third eye. If you want to try to see through one eye, it helps. The Holy Most High, to mull in a trusted source of the holy when in the eyeball to vision first the lesson. So some reading on Odin would help some of the more ancient writings. You can't trust the new stuff, but the more ancient writings on Odin will help get an idea, because that is the first lesson. Seems like Odin got a ring around his head. I don't know if that's Jupiter or Saturn. No, red rings, possibly Odin's, possibly Jupiter. And I heard from another source that Jupiter runs an umbilical cord to the sun. To the vision first lesson, the first lesson in life. To cut from nine. Nine could be none, no, nine, especially with the language in that area. Nine means none. But I'll have to look this word up and search it for a while before I'm sure about that. But you can see that it went from to cut from nine, meaning times, and over here now it's to Odin, meaning time, and over here Odin, meaning time. They just they have a hard time because they have three different writings here, and they're trying to force one set of words on three different set of writings. So yeah, whoever did this, the 72, they did a real good job, but not good enough. They didn't fool me. And I hope everybody else wake up to this and see that there's a huge amount of our history, not necessarily religion. I don't believe there was any religion back then. I think it was all knowledge. It was either true or it was not. I don't believe people had religious beliefs. I believe that they knew for a fact that they could watch the moon and the stars, and they knew the best time to plant their fields. And all your best farmers today, they know to work by the moon. The moon is the god of planting. And the ones that's highly intelligent, the man that puts out the Farmer's Almanac, that's always right. He knows if it's going to rain next year. He knows what day and how much it's going to rain. I believe he goes through some of the other stars. I believe he goes through some of the other planets and not just the moon. But the moon has a huge balance on the thought of man up in your head. The tidal pulls on the water in your head affects your thinking a lot. So this would be the herb. In his right hand he holds the herb. the staff in his left. And he always had these two birds watching out for him. So I'm gonna end this off here. I'm gonna do some investigation. I'm gonna read up more on some of these older writings of Odin, see if I can find and learn more about Odin, and go on and break this writing down some more. But you can see Odin, he's carrying the old staff, the old winged staff here. And Odin's got wings like Mercury on his feet. Looks like Odin represents all the planets, possibly. Alright, good day, folks.